Hey, y'all. You know who it is. It's your favorite girl from the 504. This is your girl, Ashley, bringing you another beautiful episode of Black Girl Interrupted. Tonight, I got a special guest with me, y'all. That's my girl, Nicole. You know what? Let me correct myself. This is Coach Nicole, baby. So, anyone that is not familiar with Black Girl Interrupted podcast, I always start my show with a mental health check-in because I need to know how you're feeling because I know there are not a lot of spaces where we could come in and we could talk and we're able to be safe. But y'all know how we do it over here on Black Girl Interrupted podcast. Y'all know mental health is something that I advocate for. You guys know my story. So I have to check the temperature. I need to make sure y'all are good. Happy Wednesday. We are 2 days away from the weekend. It is hump day. So let me know how you're feeling. And before I get started into tonight's conversation, I always play something encouraging, empowering, uplifting, just to let you know that whatever it is that you're going through, you can make it. Just don't ever give up. So as we finish our mental health check-in, we're going to jump into tonight's conversation. Here we go.
It's an urge. Truth be told, every champion has felt it. Every president has felt it. Every king has felt it. Every lion has felt it. Every winner has felt it. Every soldier has felt it. Every victorious person has felt it. The urge to quit. Don't you give up on your dream. I don't care if you don't have the money, you don't have the help, and you don't have the family for it, and you don't have the background for it, and you don't have the friends for it. Don't you give up on your dream. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. It may take you twice as long. You may have to take courses and classes. You might not read as fast. You might not move as quick. You might not have as much, but don't you quit. Don't you quit. Don't you quit. You do make a difference. You do make a difference. You do make a difference. As weak as you are, as tired as you are, as many mistakes as you made, you do make a difference. There is something they would lose if you were not there. There was something that they would miss if you were not there. You do make a difference. You do make a difference. You do make a difference. Keep hopping. It's for people that are trying to hop their way back home. Come hell or high water, doing the best they can with what they got. That's who we are, doing the best we can with what we got. And we may not break any ribbons and we may not get any trophies, but if we can learn how to hang on in there, we'll be all right. I will not lie to you, I feel like going on. But I have seen days I did not want to get out of bed, didn't want to put on clothes, and didn't even feel like brushing my teeth. I've seen days so dark that I just want to keep driving, and I didn't even care where I ended up or what you called me. They came, and they passed, and they came to pass. I kept the faith. I kept it. I lost a lot of stuff. I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of strength. I lost a lot of courage. I lost a lot of time. I lost a lot of money. But I kept down on my knees. I was still believing. Broke, I was believing. Lonely, I was believing. Betrayed, I was. If you lose a job, keep the faith. If you lose a spouse, keep the faith. If you bury your child, keep the faith. If you have to downsize, keep the faith. If you have to move in with your mama, keep the faith. If you're at your wit's end, keep the faith. If you have to catch the bus, keep the faith. If you have to dumb, keep the faith. If you get sick, keep the faith. If you lose your kidneys, keep the faith. If you got heart trouble, keep the faith. You might not get a new heart, but you gotta keep your faith.
That was heavy. That was heavy, but right on time.
Mm.
Keep the faith.
When I tell you, Coach Nicole, I have a lot of heavy days. And a lot of these videos that I show for our mental health check-in, they speak to me. They resonate with me because that's what I'm feeling in the moment. You know, is it's easy to lose sight. It's easy to lose your faith. But as long as you remind yourself that regardless of whatever storm you endure and you encounter, you can make it through because God prepares us for the war. You understand? God dresses us in his armor. You understand? We're
Mhm.
covered. And like I told you, sometimes God, and I say this, sometimes God will bring you to a storm just to be a witness
Absolutely. And
that you don't know alone.
I think that sometimes as Christians, right, we have this false idea of what life is supposed to be.
Right.
We think that Jesus came to save us from the inconveniences of life. That was not his job. His job was to come and save us from sin and from, not being able to get to heaven. But it never said in the Bible, you won't get sick, you won't lose someone,
Right.
that you won't go broke, that people will not betray you. Because, and we'll get into this,
Mhm.
the things that Jesus walked through are the same things we walk through. He was the model for how we're supposed to do them. So a lot of times when you're new in Christ
Yes.
and you're so excited that I accepted Jesus and it's going to be all right now, but then the enemy comes in like a flood and it's like, what happened?
Right.
It was never supposed to be problem free. But as
Mm.
long as we keep the faith, as long as we remember who our Father is, that He's not sitting in heaven trying to torture us or make us miserable.
Right.
That's not who God is. You
Amen.
will come through it. Share what you feel because someone else's overcoming is tied to your story. That's what you and I are doing right here, right now.
Oh, thank you, Jesus. Thank you. Thank
For
you. Thank you.
anybody just out the gate, share how you feel. The mental health check-in is real because we're all struggling with something. It
Yeah.
may not be the same story, but we all have things that we are trying to push through every single day. But no matter
Absolutely.
what, we keep the faith.
So we have a few comments. This is my cousin. Hey, pretty girl. I love you so much. She says, giving up is not an option. Keep the faith.
Amen.
She says, faith comes by hearing the word of God.
Yeah.
So when I tell you this lady, Mrs. Miles, has kept me. Even on the days that I couldn't get out of the bed, she prayed over me.
Hmm.
We're in two different states. She prayed over me. She sends me a verse every morning, something encouraging, empowering to get me through my day. And that helps with my mental. You
Mhm.
understand?
Absolutely.
Because we need that. We need the word. And I don't mean the make believe. She says God carries us.
Absolutely. But also, she's your faith accountability partner.
Yes.
And we all
Yes.
need those.
Oh, and she makes sure. I mean, sometimes she'll send me 4, 5 messages in the morning. I'm okay with that because I sit back and I read them. And
Mhm.
if I feel it get, maybe just a touch of heaviness, I'm scrolling. Okay, what did she tell me today? Oh, this is the song I need to hear. Cool.
Right.
There's my other sister. Hey, beautiful. Hey, pretty girl. So, Mrs. Miles lost her husband
Mm.
September 26th.
I'm so
This is
sorry.
her first holiday. Um, my big sister, my god sister, Misha, lost her husband 4 years ago. So, this is her fourth holiday without her husband. So, when I tell you they have been my ride or dies, they have just been my cocoon of love and just everything that I needed to help me get through. And she says, hey, beautiful ladies. You know I love you, beautiful. My beautiful beige, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That's she's everything. She's just I thank God for her. I
Mm.
do. So for those that are just tuning in to Black Girl Interrupted, tonight's conversation is grief. And what is it? November, December, around this time of the year, grief has no timeline. But I know around the holidays it does get heavy for most. Um, for those that may be celebrating their first holiday, having their first, and I really don't want to use the word celebrating, but
Mhm.
we're celebrating the life. Um, this could be your first holiday. This could be your fourth holiday, your 30th holiday. There's no expiration and no timeline on grief. So I have Coach Nicole here with me tonight, who is a life coach that specializes in grief and faith. Y'all give it up. Give it up for Miss Nicole. Let me see my little sound effects work, girl. I got a new little thing. So you'll be the first one I try my little sound effects on. Let's see.
I didn't hear it, but maybe they did. Look, I'm a clap for me.
Yes, baby. We gotta give her a round of applause. We got a couple of comments that just popped in. Give me just a moment. She says we have to be there for each other.
Absolutely.
And she says, love y'all. And then there's my beautiful, beautiful sister in Christ, Jocelyn. Hey, beautiful. She recently lost a loved one to suicide.
Oh,
and first holiday. And say, no, it's not. Absolutely. And so everyone's here tonight for you, Miss Nicole.
I feel honored.
We are here for you.
I really do feel honored. Again, anytime I can sit on someone else's platform, and I'm honored, the name right away, Black Girl Interrupted, just drew me in, because as Black girls, life is always interrupted for us in many different ways. And we don't always feel seen or feel like we have a safe space to talk about those interruptions. So blessings to you, sis, for creating a safe space to talk about these things that in other cultures is very open, but sometimes for us, we don't have those spaces to be honest about how we're feeling, right? So, we're always painted as the strong ones, but we need a safe space and a faith-based safe space to be able to talk about how we feel.
Absolutely.
So if this is your first time seeing me, blessings to you all. I am Coach Nicole. I am the founder of Faith Over Fear Biblical Life Coaching. So if you have not checked me out, I'm on all social media platforms and things like that, where you can check me out. And I'm honored to be here tonight to talk about grief. First and foremost, I'm walking through my own season of grief. I just want to be transparent about that. Before Ashley asked me to be a guest, we had already booked this and everything like that. But about a week and a half ago, my mother-in-law transitioned extremely suddenly. When I say extremely suddenly, like I had just talked to her that night, everything was fine. And 12 hours later, she was gone. She did not have any health problems. We did not really get to say goodbye to her. My daughter is the only grandbaby. So, on both sides. So that was her mom, if you will. And so now we're walking through this space where we are going to lay her to rest over the next 2 days, right before Christmas. So I've experienced a lot of loss in my life, but I am actively walking through this now. And I told that to Ashley. She said, "Are you sure you still want to do this?" And I said, "Absolutely, because this is part of my assignment." And so I just want to let you all know that I am sharing that similar space that you all are right now, as well.
So Tisha says, I will not dwell in grief, or I would stay stuck in that season. There are souls depending on my obedience.
Yeah. Yeah. And when we talk about grief, when we talk about what is grief, right? We know that grief is a physical, mental, or emotional response to a loss, right? And in most cases, it can cause anxiety, it can cause depression, it can cause insomnia. Thank you so much, Jocelyn. I see that for the condolences and everyone giving those in the chat. We know that is what grief is. It can cause digestive problems, just all sorts of things, right? But also you can grieve over things that didn't happen. And I want to touch on that too, because a lot of times when we say grief, we focus on the loss, and that is important. People that we loved, that really represented a huge part of our life, they are gone. And we get angry about that. We don't understand it. Some of them were snatched from us, just like I described with my mother-in-law. Some were sick and we watched them suffer. And I used to say to my mom a lot, who is still living, I would say to her, why does God take the people that he does? It always seems like he takes the good people and leaves us with the people that just are not right. Like, and then we have to take care of them,
Absolutely.
And it's like, why? But also, there is grief that is about things that didn't come to pass, the life that we thought we would have. As women, it can be things like infertility. Maybe it's job loss in this season around the holidays. Maybe it is a new medical diagnosis and you cannot celebrate the way that you always did or wanted to. There are a lot of things that we grieve over.
Yeah.
But going back to the loss, a lot of times we are angry with God. We do not understand, God, why did you take my husband? Why did you take my child? Why did you take my best friend?
That was definitely me when I lost my father in 2021. So my father passed from COVID. And the day before he passed, I was told he collapsed in Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up, the ambulance came, they took him, he went home. So by the time he got home, maybe an hour or so later, ambulance came back and they said, well, we're just going to take him. He just has to get some oxygen. And that was at maybe 6:30 that afternoon. And 9 something that next morning, he was gone. And in that moment, I said, what was he thinking?
Yeah.
We were at the height of COVID. You couldn't go visit your loved ones. He died alone. But then I had to realize he wasn't by himself. God was with him as he transitioned on. But in that moment, I didn't understand that. I was so upset. I was so angry because I should have called. I should have done this. It's the coulda, shoulda, wouldas.
Right.
It took me maybe 2 years to realize and understand that's not the way God wanted it to be.
Mm-mm.
God didn't want me because he told me, he said, had I had made it feasible for you to speak to him, it would have been harder for you to let him go.
Right.
So I had to take him. He said, it's like ripping off a Band-Aid. And in that moment, I was angry with him because how dare you expose my wound? But now here it is almost 5 years later. And I'm like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And then it was just all these deaths back to back, to back, to back, to back. My husband was diagnosed with prostate cancer in September, stage 2. Really, God? Here we go again.
We go again.
But then it was like, he tapped me on the shoulder. It's like, you know how when you get in trouble, your mom pulls you by the back of your shirt, like, I get over here. He said, let me place you right here because I know you're angry. He said, but he's healed. Why are you stressing?
He's healed. Yeah, why are you stressing? And I often say when I'm coaching people, if God told you why he took them, would it really make you feel any better? Because at the end of the day, you just want the person back.
Right.
Like, let's just be honest about it. You don't really care why God took them. It's not going to make you feel better. You would reason with God as to why God's reason was wrong. Am I right?
Yes. It's like, can I negotiate? What if I give you $50?
Right.
If I give you this.
Right. Well, God, I can help them. I could do a little more. You don't, whatever God would tell you, it would never be enough. Mm-hmm. But what I say to that is you have to remember that we are God's children and everybody that we come in contact with is on loan to us, including us to other people. We don't actually own anyone, right? And I know that's a hard concept, but the people that God blesses us with are just that, his blessings.
Right.
But there are assignments on their lives that have nothing to do with you. There are things that God has to do in their story that sometimes involve you and sometimes don't. I had an uncle who passed away. He had a drug problem and he passed away. And I remember just saying, I don't understand, God, why would you take him? He was my favorite uncle. He looked out for me. And transparently, in his drug addiction, the doctors warned him, if you do this again, Your heart cannot survive it.
Right.
But he did it anyway. And I remember being younger saying, if you knew your heart was going to stop or you wouldn't make it, why would you enter that realm again? Didn't you love us enough to not go down that path? But as I got older, I realized it wasn't about me. What about the damage he was doing to his body? What about if he would have stayed in addiction, how that would have affected his children or me or the rest of the family? You
Come
cannot
on, preach. Come on, come on, keep on.
It's not about any of us. God's ways truly are not ours. I could talk to you about my story for a long time. We don't even have enough time tonight.
Right.
If I would have sat in that, I would not be here, this life coach in front of you, because in the moment, it didn't make any sense.
And that's what I couldn't understand. It was like, how does 2 + 2 = 5 again?
Right.
Do we add 1? Do we subtract 2? Carry the 3? I just was trying to figure out apples and oranges, peaches and pears. Maybe because they all belong, they're fruits. They begin with the letter P. I didn't understand it until my father passed.
Yeah.
And then when my godmother passed. And then when I went through my own storms, I said, you know what? God is trying to get my attention some kind of way.
Absolutely.
And God said the only way I could get you to see was I had to take something from you.
Yes. And I see, is it Tisha's comment? Can you put that on the screen? I can see, I question God because then he answers. I see her commenting that. And if you don't hear anything else from me tonight, I want you to remember this. It is okay to question God.
You know what? You almost said.
As Black women, okay, we are raised in a way where it seems like it's not acceptable to question God. I'm sure someone will feel me on this, where it's like we were brought up in a place where don't question God, you don't ask him anything. No, that is a lie. The Bible doesn't say you cannot do that. How will you understand the plans, the direction, what's going on? He's your father. Don't your children? Aren't you supposed to lead them? How can you lead them if they don't ask you anything? You want and crave for your children to ask you things, but you think that you can't ask your father. But what do? You run to the group chat, you run to the discussion board, you run to social media, you run to the world and ask all these questions instead of saying, God, help me to understand.
Let me tell you something. You almost made me throw this whole computer across this room. And I'm going to tell you why, because this lady right here, when I tell you, Miss Mercadale, Mrs. Miles, she told me, she said, you're in a relationship.
That's right.
But if it's something you don't understand, you ask for clarity, because God is a man of clarity, never a man of confusion. So if it's something you don't understand, you could sit down and you could ask him, God, why?
Yeah.
And he
even in grief.
Right. Because he may not answer it right then, but you're going to get your answer soon. Yeah. You understand? Whether it be through a sign, whether it be through your children, somebody. And my therapist told me, she said, you have all the time in the world to talk to God about something you don't understand. She said, you never let anyone tell you you can't communicate with God if you're confused about something.
No.
So when I tell you, Tisha just said it. We're in a relationship.
We are in a relationship. And that's what's key. Because when you don't ask, all you do is walk around and be confused. Mm-hmm. And you don't understand where your life is going, why it's going the way it's going. What are you supposed to do with what happened? What are you supposed to do? So like when I'm talking about my mother-in-law passed, when it first happened, it's like, it's a whirlwind. But now that I'm sitting with it, I'm like, okay, God, what do we do now? What am I supposed to learn in this? Because nothing happens by accident. So what's my assignment? Even in grief, we all have assignments. Even in grief, when you're crying, when you're sad, there's an assignment on your life, even in that. So what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to help the family that's left? Am I supposed to help them get closer to God? What am I supposed to do? But all of us have assignments. Even in grief, we have lessons. But when you sit there and you act like God can't handle it, that you can't ask him anything, he's waiting on you to talk to him. And stop praying, saying, God, everything is fine. I thank you. No, it's not. God, I'm angry. God, I'm upset. God, we had more things to do. God, I wish we had more time. God, how am I supposed to explain to my 8-year-old that her grandmother is gone? How did you leave us in this? And do you think that if you open your mouth and cry out to God that he won't answer, that he won't honor your request? He will, even in grief. But you have to be bold. You have to be strong.
And you have to be intentional.
Him and say, God, I need to understand.
You got to be intentional.
You got to be intentional, and he can handle it. God is not offended by your questions. He can handle it, chat. He can handle it. He's not offended. He wants to know that you want to know. But it's no need to get up there and lie and act like everything's fine. He knows what you do at 3 a.m. when you can't sleep. He knows what's in your mind. He sees you in the discussion boards and the Facebook groups asking for help. And he's just saying, well, when you gonna ask me? Because I'm the one running this thing. When you gonna talk to me?
I'm the one that carries you.
I'm the one that carries you.
On them days that you can't get up and carry yourself, because baby, yes. God. Right.
I'm the one that made sure you survived every difficult day up until now, but you don't want to ask me? Come on now.
You'll go and you'll run over there to the person that doesn't even believe in me for advice.
Yes, say it, sis.
And I'm your
counselor. We get discouraged.
I'm your therapist, but I send the people to do the work. That to pass the vessel, they're the carrier of my word. He said, that's why I gave you therapists. That's why I gave you psychiatrists. That's why I gave you psychologists. This is why I gave you life. Yeah,
and that's where that anger and resentment comes from. Because now you're in the Facebook group, you're in the discussion board, you're asking people, and they're giving you worldly advice because we are in the world, but not of the world. And they tell you, oh, if God really cared about you, he wouldn't allow that. And why does this stuff happen to you people? Because this was not God's original design. God's original design was the Garden of Eden. But we know that story. We learned it in Sunday school. Yes. Sin happened. The apple and all that. This is not what God wanted us to be. Do you know how much he loves us? But this is where we are until he comes back. So talk to him. God, I'm in this because I don't have any choice, but help me to navigate it. Help me to steward it right. Help me to be able to carry this thing so I don't look like what I'm going through.
I need you to pull me out of the bed, God.
Pull me out of the bed.
The dark, because let me tell you, I sat in the dark for a long time. The grief, because it was familiar and I felt safe. But God says, people can't help you or celebrate you when you're sitting in the dark because we can't see you.
That's right.
So I need you to come on. Get up.
Get up.
Go wash your face. Brush your teeth. Look. And
even the things that didn't come to pass, that you are grieving, talk to him about those. God, why I'm the only one didn't get married? Why I'm the only one didn't have any children? Why can I not get my dream house? I see everybody else out here done bought a house. I'm still in my apartment. Why? I go to church. I try to do the right thing. But I don't have anything. Everything I pray for seems like it go to everybody else. God, help me to understand. I feel left behind.
But God says we're not in a competition. You understand? Everyone's arrival time is different. And if we could understand and stop. So I learned this, Coach Nicole, as I went back through my journey to relearn the Bible. You understand? I knew it, but it changes as you get older. You understand? Because you start to see things differently. You see things from a child's point of view, a teenager, and then an adult, and then as an elder. You understand? And then everything starts to make sense. But I asked God, oh my goodness. Coach Nicole, you didn't tell me this. You You didn't tell me this because I just had this conversation last night about Adam and Eve. You didn't tell me that this was okay. I'm ready for church.
Okay.
But I went to God and I said, God, why is this happening to me? He said, because you wanted everything. You wanted to be able to handle everything. So in order for me to let you see who I am, I got to take things from you.
Yeah.
And it's the things that you cherish the most. And I say, but God, he said, no, period.
Period.
He said, because I talked to him about my suicide attempt back in June. And God says, you were living in a house with a foundation and a roof.
Listen.
Did you hear what I just said?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He said, you were living in a house with a roof and a foundation. And you thought you was going to be able to substantiate like that? You didn't have anything to substantiate that roof. He said, so I had to break you. I had to tear your house down. And I had to rebuild your foundation. I was grieving that because it was like he was just taking and taking and taking. Until finally one night at 3 o'clock in the morning, I was up, I couldn't sleep. I came in here in my office and I cut my music on. And I cried and cried and cried and cried. He said, I knew one day you would come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that resonates so much with me. And when we talk about Job, we always like to talk about Job, right? And people say I'm in my Job season. You know, you may be, you may not, but what Job went through was a lot. But he was one of God's strongest soldiers. What Job went through, some of us would not survive. Most of us would not survive.
Oh no, we would break.
We would break
at the first sight.
Yes.
What is the word I want to say? At the very first sight of trouble, we're ready to run.
We're ready to run. Yeah.
But see, like I told you before, we were covered.
Mm-hmm.
God prepares us. He said, weapons will form, but they shall not prosper.
That's right.
So I'm learning, Miss Nicole, in my season of grief, that I'm a backseat rider now. You understand?
Yes.
Because when I was driving the car, now I use this analogy all the time. When I was driving, you could only look in one direction when you're driving the car and it's straight ahead.
Mm-hmm.
When you're the passenger in the front, and you're riding in the front seat passenger, you're focused on the driver because you need to make sure the driver knows where they're going. But when you get in the back seat, you get to see everything.
That's right.
What's in front of you, what's to the right, what's to the left. You get to see what's behind you. So I'm a backseat rider now. I tell people all the time, I let God drive.
I love it.
Husband.
Yeah.
We're healed.
Absolutely.
We're going to look back at this 5-10 years from now. And we're going to be like, yeah, you remember when that happened and what God did for us? So let me ask you this, Miss Nicole. We're in this season of grief. It doesn't just happen around the holidays. It could happen, birthdays. It could be a scent. It could be a color. And I learned this in therapy, that colors are triggers. You may fragrance, a song, just anything could take you back. But my therapist told me, yes, your father passed on March the 4th. But what has happened since then on March the 4th?
Right.
I say, but she said, yeah, we celebrate the day that they passed. She said, but other things have happened to you since then. I said, but she said, no, period. She said, 2 days after your father passed in 2023, didn't you start your new job? I said, yeah. She said, okay. So why keep reliving what happened March 4th, 2021? You're still angry about it. That day is come and gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a lot of times when we experience grief, that becomes our whole identity. Everything now gets identified under the grief umbrella, if you will.
Right.
You know, somebody, will say something to you. You immediately say, well, I don't have a father, or my father died, or my mother died, or my child died, or, this happened to me. But everything about you is identified through the grief.
Right.
And that's really not your identity. Your identity is a disciple. The grief and the loss is something that occurred in your story, but it is not the whole book. It is one chapter. And that's how we get stuck and we can't move forward, is that once that grief happens, that's the whole story gets defined by that grief. That's the whole story. If you take a vacation, well, my father would have wanted to go here. That cannot be the theme. And I know that's difficult to hear and it's not easy, but that is what happened to you. And we think that grief is something we're supposed to just be done with, but it's a journey that looks different. But you can't stay in those first beginning stages of it. That's not what it's designed for us to do. And you have to keep moving through it.
And that goes to my next question. What are the stages of grief?
So there are several. A lot of them deal with, anger, they deal with resentment, they deal with bargaining. And then eventually the goal is to get to acceptance. But many of us don't get to that acceptance because we can't get past the anger.
Right.
We can't get past that. We live in that. Sometimes when you look at people in the stores and they just look so angry, or people that you just know always look upset or mad with the world, they're stuck in that first phase of anger. And they can't move past. They'll never get to acceptance. Even if it's 10, 20 years later, they have not done any work to move through those stages.
So why does that happen, Miss Nicole? So you said the first stage is the anger.
Mm-hmm.
What keeps us there?
What keeps us there is thinking that our view of life and how we feel life is supposed to go is the only option. And when God's true design takes a different path, we get upset. We think that, something is wrong here because, wait a minute, God, my plan was this. I felt like I needed to do this with that person. Why would you give me this person just to take them back? I wasn't finished with them. It's almost like a child with toys, if you will, right? And I don't mean that we are childish, but this is how children are. You give them something, they want to play with it as long as they want to play with it. But when you, as the parent, say, you're done now with that, you need to put it away or I'm going to take it, they don't want to let it go. And that's how we are with God, because they don't understand as children. Well, why not? I'm not done with it yet. It's mine. You gave it to me. How dare you tell me I can't play with it anymore? And that's how we are in grief, is we're like, God, you gave me these people. Right. And that's why we don't move past the anger, because we feel like our design for our life is it. And God's design really doesn't matter, if we're being honest.
Almost like we were robbed.
Yeah, like we were robbed.
And that's how I felt in the beginning when my father passed. I was like, I feel like someone just came into my house and just robbed me. Like I felt empty.
Yeah, but that's the key though, Ashley, is that is a valid way to feel, but you can't stay there.
Right.
You have to get up every day and say, okay, God, I'm trying to move from the anger. I don't want to be mad for the rest of my life. I don't want to be feeling like everything was snatched from me. There is still more life for me to live, or you would have taken me too then. And we forget that. You still are living.
Because I sat like that for 2 years after my father passed.
We sit and a lot of us hit pause right there. Boom.
I did. Yeah. I did. I wanted the world to stop because I wanted more time. I wanted to call. It was the guilt. I should have called. I should have did this. I should have. But as I said, God said that's not the way I designed it. Yeah. And my therapist told me, she says, as long as you're here, your dad is still here.
Yeah.
And when you pass on, you'll still be here because your children will still be here, and so on and so forth. So you spoke to my heart, because that was me. Because I just couldn't understand. God, you're taking this, you're taking that, you just keep doing this to me. What did I do to you?
Yeah.
And then I started to, well, maybe it's because I did somebody like this, or maybe because I did that. But then when I sat down and I opened up my Bible and I got the lesson, because I became the student instead of me wanting to do it all. And then I had my accountability partners that say, come on, get up.
Yeah.
Their
And
life is over.
yeah,
Yours is not ended.
yours is not ending. And look, I'm gonna take a sip before I say this, right?
Go ahead. Because I had to learn to put a period
Right
at
there.
the end of that. You understand? I wanted to that almost to like a to be continued, but God says when their assignment is over, that's it. Period. You got to turn the page now.
You got to turn the page. And, earlier I said, if you don't remember anything else I said, it's okay to question God. But I want you to remember this as well, for those in the chat as well. Grief is very near and dear to God. And I think that we don't remember that or don't think about that when it comes to God. Because God would say, I know you're hurting and you're sad, but where were you when my son was on the cross and I was grieving? If you think about the whole Bible, God has grieved the entire timeline. So let's go back to Adam and Eve. Whether or not God knew these things were going to happen, they still saddened him as our father. This was not his original design. That was a moment of grief, right? To have to see Adam and Eve, his creations, now turn into something that he did not want to be, right? To have sin enter the world, to now have it be a way that he didn't design it to be, right? Then we know all the things that happened with Moses and the plagues and let my people go, all that kind of stuff he had to do. Do you think God enjoyed doing that? Like think about that a second. Every time he has to do something to try to get us together, do you think he enjoys that? Do you enjoy reprimanding your children? What do we always say? This is going to hurt you more than it hurts me. But because we don't understand who God is and our parental child relationship with him, we forget these things. Do you think when he had to send the flood and Noah in the ark, you don't think he grieved that? Destroying the world? You think that was fun times for God? No. Right? Then we get to Jesus, right? Jesus' whole story is grief. The Bible says he was a man of sorrow. When he was born, right? Before he got here, he was judged for being illegitimate. Why? Because his mother was a virgin.
Yes.
Nobody really believed that. Are you sure, Mary? Are you sure, Joseph? That was nothing but drama. Let's keep it real.
Yes.
When he was born, there was no place for him to go. There was no hospital. He was born where the animals were. That wasn't a good thing, right? Right? And they were looking for him. So that wasn't good. Then as Jesus is growing up, we don't hear Joseph mentioned anymore after the age of 12. So now Mary's a single mother. Do you think that made Jesus feel good? I doubt it. He goes into ministry. His father is not there.
Right.
Right? And then we know everything that happens after that. His friends lied on him. They betrayed him. They really sent him to die. All these other things happened. And then he still says, God, can you take this from me? It's too much. Do you think any of that made God happy? Jesus was nothing but God in human form. But you mean to tell me that we think that God is just being mean to us? God is going to say, where were you all those times when I've been grieving? The current state of the world. Do you think this makes him happy to watch his children behave the way they do, deny him, worship everything in the world other than him? Grief is near and dear to God.
Yes. And the fact that we only go to him in the bad times.
In the bad times.
And then once he picks us back up, and let me say this, Miss Nicole, because I've learned that God says, I'm tired of fixing you up. And then I fix you up to be presentable. And then you want to come back to me when you all tired and haggard and you expect me to fix you up again. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna allow you to be tired and haggard. You understand?
Hmm.
Until you're ready for me to really fix you up and be presentable to the world. And I had to learn that because that was the
Yeah.
only time I ran to him. God, I'm going through this. I'm going through that. And as soon as everything was clear, matter of fact, as soon as the sky was blue again, then okay, God, see you later.
Yep.
Well, God said, I got something for you.
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
and that's
use
why
you.
sometimes we have to sit in things, especially in this part of life we're in. God is allowing us to sit in things longer than we want to. He hears our prayer. He's not asleep. He didn't clock out. He didn't take a vacation day.
You won't
He
sleep nor
hears it, but
slumber.
he's tired of what you just said. Every time I bring you out, look, when you're going through, you laying in the floor, you got all the gospel music on, you the first person in the parking lot on Sundays. Somebody says, how you doing? I'm trusting God, all these things. You got 50 million scriptures. You can't turn on a revival every 5 minutes when you get home, but let the sun start to come out again. You forget all about God
And now
until the
you don't
next
need him.
time.
And now you don't need him.
No, you don't need him. And guess what? You didn't even give him the respect, the honor, the glory, and the praise for what you survived. You just tell people, oh, I made it through. You don't say, it was God that rescued me at 3 a.m. in the floor when I was losing my mind, when the enemy told me I was better off not being here. Okay?
Absolutely.
Because I've dealt with that.
You didn't
You're a
tell him how
burden
you
on your family.
and then
Those types of things. We don't say, though, God brought us out. It's like something magical happened and we just suddenly were fine. No, it was God.
girl, talk to me.
He's sick of us.
He is so tired. That's why God took me off the back line and put me back on the main line. He said, because I'm tired of you calling this back number every time something goes wrong. I'm gonna block you. So now you got to wait in line like everybody else.
Right.
And so again, in this season of grief, I'm no longer grieving who I once was because I asked God to restore me in his likeness. Because I hear people say, I just want to be who I was before this person passed.
Mm-mm.
I don't want to be that person. I want to be better than that person. I want you to restore me. I need you to make me presentable. And I'm going to allow you to dress me. I'm going to allow you to continue to do what you do. I'm going to continue to allow you to put food on my table. You understand?
Yeah.
You feed me. You nourish me. You wash me white as snow.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Good
Yeah.
days, the bad days, when I lose people, it's like, you know what, God? I understand. I understand. So let me ask you this, Coach Nicole. This is $1 million question, and we're going to circumvent back to it. But how does grief affect your faith?
Yeah, and that's the hard part, right? Because even though we're questioning, even if we are healthy, questioning God and trying to understand, it doesn't mean that your faith is not going to take a hit. But I think where we get it confused is it's okay for your faith to take a little bit of a hit. It's
Mm.
it's okay. It's normal, right? The road was never meant to be easy, but that's why God said you only need a mustard seed, right? And if you don't know a mustard seed, that little bit like between my fingers is about the size of a mustard seed. It's not this big Starbucks cup amount. That's all the faith that you need. Some days you're going to have this Starbucks cup amount, but some days you're only going to have that little mustard seed, but both count in God's eyes.
So, Coach Nicole, how would you tell someone, or how would you explain or express a person that is going through grief, that they've lost? Again, it may not have been a physical loss. It could have been, like you said, a job loss, a friendship, and those friendship breakups hurt too. Divorce, you could be mourning who you used to be. How would you, if I came to you and I say, Coach Nicole, I don't know what to do. I'm trying to trust God, but God don't seem to be showing up. What would you say to me in that moment? Maybe not just necessarily in that moment, but if I just came to you and I say, you know what, Coach Nicole, man, God is, he done let me down. God is just, man, he just keeps taking and taking and taking. Talk to me as if my loss just happened.
So what I would tell you first right away is that grief is love remembering. Grief is love remembering. And when I say it to you like that, the negative connotation that we have with grief has this like negative connotation, like it's something that we need to escape.
Right.
But grief is nothing but love remembering. And so when I say it to you that way, what that should release in you is that I can remember. I can feel the love that I had for whatever it is I'm grieving, and that is okay. It's not this thing that I have to mask. It's not something you need to pretend that didn't happen or like you're okay. Like my husband, I share with you all, we are walking through loss right now with his mother, and I say, how are you doing? He says, I'm okay. No, you're not. You're not. It's okay to say I'm not okay. But grief is love remembering. So when you have a sad moment, that's love remembering. When you feel triggered, that's love remembering. Thank God that you were blessed with love to be able to remember it. Because somebody somewhere wishes they had a memory of their father that was so wonderful and beautiful that they could remember it. Everybody didn't have that. Somebody wishes they had a child where they could say, I remember being a mother and how that felt. Everybody doesn't get that. So it's okay to grieve because that's love remembering. That's number one. Number two, you cannot escape it. There's no magic pill or wand that you can wave for it to go away. You have to go through it. So stop trying to escape grief. I just told you it's love remembering. You don't need to escape remembering the love. But you give yourself permission to feel, to walk through it, to acknowledge it, to own it, to say, I remember it, and my process might look different than yours or mine or someone else's, but I'm going to honor this love in a way that makes sense for me. And I'm not going to run from it.
Is that why they say you cry when you come in the world and you rejoice when you leave?
Yeah. Absolutely. And
And
that's another thing. When we lose people, we never look at it like, my God, they got their crown. We never say that. We're so focused on what happened to us.
And the loss.
And I understand. Please don't think I don't understand. But there's another part to that my God, they made it to their crown. Something we all should aspire to have one day.
And that's what I'm learning is to celebrate. Yeah, the physical, yeah, that hurts. But as I said, like my therapist told me, as long as you're still here, they're still here.
Absolutely. Now, there is a term that we use called biblically resistant faith, grief, biblically resistant grief.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that for us?
Yeah. And really what that means is that a lot of times Christians feel as though they cannot grieve because that means that you are questioning God or you don't agree with him. And that I just told you, God is very close to grief. The Bible says also he's close to the brokenhearted. We know all of those things.
Yes.
But just because you are a believer, because you have faith, that does not mean you cannot grieve. It's quite the opposite. God wants you to grieve. He wants you to bring it to the altar. He wants you to talk to him about it. A lot of times church will make us feel like, and this is going to step on some toes, but sometimes churches will make us feel like we can't grieve. And that is not appropriate.
That's like with mental health.
Yeah, yes.
What they say is just pray.
Yeah.
And
you have a loss, and then it's like the church says they'll pray for you, but then what?
How do I carry on after that? Because when I had this conversation last week when we were talking about how to deal with the loss of a spouse or the loss of a parent, they love you the first 6 weeks. I just say 6 weeks. You know, you get the phone calls, and then it's the 7th week, the 8th week, the 9th week. The calls come, become few and far in between.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, okay, well, where are all these people that said, girl, call me if you need me, girl? It doesn't matter the time. So I learned, let me call God real quick. That's how he blocked me from the back line. He had to put me back in the queue with everybody else because I was calling. I was blowing his phone up, and God says, go read this, and then we'll talk about it later. Because I got 1 million people. He say, there's 1 million people in the world, but only one makes it.
That's right.
And I said, well, but he said, and you were one because you're still here.
That's right.
He said, remember, I tore your house down. Because how can you live on a foundation and a roof? So I took from you. I did it. This person didn't do, I did it. Like God took accountability for, I did it.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. He said, so what you gonna say to me? I said, oh, nothing, sir, nothing. You got this. Let me just be quiet and be obedient.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It is natural to grieve. It is scriptural to grieve. We talked about that. Even Jesus grieved for Lazarus, right? That is in the Bible. It is okay to grieve. Never let anyone tell you that you don't trust God or you don't have any faith because you're grieving. That is a lie of the enemy. You have got to grieve. Yeah,
they say that.
They do. That is not accurate. So I hope I'm freeing someone tonight. It's not accurate.
Me.
Grieve. Tell God how you feel. He gets it. He cares. He can handle it. And your faith is going to waver in different times of life. Like your faith is not always going to be this Starbucks cup size. All the greats in the Bible that we look up to, Moses, Noah, all of, they all went through a lot.
Because I strive to have the patience of Job.
Yes.
Every day.
I'm gonna give you a Bible story that we know very well, just to illustrate this. So that the woman with the issue of blood, right? And if you don't know that story, there was a woman in the Bible. She had this issue of blood where she was bleeding for well over a decade, we'll say. And we know the story goes on to say she had spent all her life savings. She did everything she could do, went to every doctor trying to solve this medical problem. No one could help her. Eventually, Jesus is there. There's a crowd. She's like, I'm just going to press my way through this Beyonce-sized crowd, if you will. That's how many people there were.
Yes.
And she presses her way through, and she touches Jesus on the hem of his garment, just a little hem, right? And he says, who touched me? And everybody looks around, and the disciple says, she touched you. And he said, woman, your faith has made you whole. And then that instant, she was healed.
Yep.
But what's powerful about that story, Ashley? It's not the fact that she pressed her way to Jesus, because many people really were trying to get to Jesus.
Absolutely.
It's the fact that she sat in that for over a decade. Yes. Bleeding constantly. And you have to think about, in those times, they looked at people like that as unclean. They shamed them. They didn't want to be around them.
It's like they gave them the scarlet letter.
Right. But even after a decade, and you have to think how much grief she had about her life. She didn't want that for herself. Absolutely. Okay. And all the things she probably missed out on because of her affliction. But her faith did not change, because whether or not she tried to get a cure from a doctor or eventually Jesus, she knew that one day God would show up for her if she kept the faith. That doesn't mean that she always had this Starbucks size cup. But when she pressed her way that day, she still had enough faith after a decade to say, God's going to heal me one of these days. And I'm going to keep trying to get to the other side, even after all this time. If God would have healed her in 6 days, 6 months, or even maybe 6 years, that story would not be as powerful as it is today.
Absolutely.
And you don't think she grieved? She definitely grieved, whether the Bible calls it out or not.
my goodness.
Yeah.
This is when I tell you, Coach Nicole, we went to church. We're in church right now. Church is in session. And I
Absolutely.
told you, I'm the student. I'm here to be ministered to because I've allowed grief to overcome me. And not, again, not just the physical loss, but the emotional loss or the spiritual loss. But here you are, you threw this hook and you reeled me back in
Yeah.
because I remember what it did to me physically, what it did to me emotionally, what it did to me spiritually, because I did. I was done with God. I was like, yep, you know what? Whatever, God, you just keep doing all this to me. You keep taking from me. You keep doing this. You keep doing that. I just don't understand until I had that break.
Yeah.
And he broke
Yeah.
me down and he said, their assignment ended, but yours continues. You still have purpose on this side. So don't let you die with them. And I didn't understand that.
Yeah. And a lot of people do that. They will hit pause and you're in the casket with them.
And I felt like I was.
Yeah. You may be existing, but you're not actually living.
Right. And that's what I was doing. I was just, okay, well, I got to go to work. Let me do this. It was almost like I couldn't just really grieve the way I wanted to because when he passed, I had to go to Alabama and I went by myself. I didn't have any of his family members go with me. I had never lost a parent. So I didn't know what entailed of where this was, where that was, how do you plan a funeral? But I will say this, and this is what brought me back to God. My father again was a pastor. His church family moved on my behalf as I navigated through this new chapter. You understand? Like you
Hmm.
told me, this was a new chapter. I had to put a period. Your father passed, period.
Period.
Now you got to go to the next page and you got to start a new chapter. But this one entails him not being with you in the physical realm. How do I get through that? How do I navigate this? Because I couldn't go to my mom. I couldn't go here. You know, people say, Ashley, call me. But I didn't want to be a burden to people. Was that the call from God that said, I'm here anytime you need me?
Hmm. Yeah, it probably was. I mean, it probably was God saying, you can just lean on me. Come to me. I'm your dad. I want to take care of you.
And he did.
And he did, and he will, but you have to trust him. You have to just try, and showing up with God doesn't look the same every day,
Right. And it's
because we want God to speak to us like with a loudspeaker and be very clear and write these instructions down. And it's not always going to be that easy or that simple, but he will always show up and answer.
like tonight.
Absolutely.
Look at you.
Bless you. Bless
You
you. But look, I'm gonna tell you something before we get ready to close. There are two things that happen in life. We always say the enemy shows up with weddings and funerals, right?
yes.
The reason that is the case is because those are two things that are very close to God's heart. When Adam and Eve got together, there were no children yet. The enemy came right out the gate. Soon as Eve, she touched down, they made her from his rib and all that.
Mm,
Here comes the snake. There was no Cain, no Abel yet. It was just the two of them. So for the enemy to attack marriage lets you know how important marriage is and close to God's heart marriage is. The enemy will always show up in things that are close to God to destroy it. So then we have funerals. And we just talked about how important and close grief is to God because he grieved all through the Bible, all through Jesus's life. Grief is so important and close to God. So when we know that and we recognize that, we have to understand the enemy is going to show up then. Because where God wants us to get close to him in grief, the enemy wants us to get close to him in grief. Wants us to bicker, wants us to turn our backs on God, to question, to lose our faith, to stop going to church, to think it's the end of our story, wants us to be depressed, anxious, and suicidal, to turn to drugs, to turn to improper behaviors to cope.
Stop talking to me like that.
Listen, the enemy works overtime. He knows what is key and close to God. Don't ever forget that he was an angel. Let's not forget that story. That's for another live, another time. But let's never forget the enemy was an angel. He knows what is close to God. And those demons that came with him out of heaven. So weddings, funerals, two things that are very close to God's heart. The enemy is always going to show up. But when you know better, you do better. Now you're educated. Now you've learned that. So when those situations happen, expect the enemy to show up. Expect him to have people acting a fool. Expect all kind of things to go wrong. But you hold to his hand, God's unchanging hand. Those songs that our grandparents used to sing when they didn't have anything, that's what it is. Build your hope on things eternal. Hold to God's unchanging hand. That's what you do. God didn't leave us. He knows we're sad. He knows we're brokenhearted. He knows we're devastated. He knows it's bad timing, but honestly, is there a good time to say bye to your loved one? No. He knows even if they live to 100, it would never be enough time. You're always going to say, we had one more thing to do.
We had another day. We had another meal to eat. We had to do this.
I forgot to tell them this. I forgot to say that it would never be enough time. But we go back to grief being love remembering. And we thank God for the love that we had and that we can remember because somebody didn't have that. And somebody wasn't loved. Somebody wasn't nurtured. Somebody didn't have the opportunity to nurture.
And I said that last week. You have some people that got no time with their mom or their dad or their brother or sister because maybe they passed in the womb or maybe mother passed during childbirth or maybe a father passed on the way to the hospital. We don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm learning to appreciate the time that I have and not the time that I've lost.
Amen. That's right.
And that's what I held on to was I still had more time. When my daughter's father passed last year, she grieved. I said, you're grieving the time that you lost and not celebrating the time that you had. Because again, me and you may have only had 2 years with your mom and have zero memories. You may have 30 years with your father and may only remember a handful of, maybe only have a handful of memories. So again, in my season of grief, because again, it's a season. It's only a season. I'm learning to just appreciate the time that I still have.
Yes.
And to make things right on this side before I transition, because remember, I told you, I have to pass God on the way out.
Yes, you do.
I have to have a conversation with him.
Yes.
You understand? I have to sit down and God is going to pull out that Rolodex and say, do you remember all those times that I kept you and you slandered my name? You disrespected my children, but I forgave you and I made you whole again.
Yes.
So before I can let you pass, I need you to just take a little ownership for that. And he's not asking for you to give him the moon, the star. He just wants you to say, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Because God is a forgiving God.
Yes, he is.
Don't feel like God forgives, but he does. Because I wouldn't still be here if he didn't forgive.
Absolutely.
I left when my father passed in March 4, 2021. I died too. When my godmother passed, I left too. When my niece was found, I left with her. And I was thinking, oh my God, I have a daughter and this and this and this, and not understanding grief,
Yeah.
not from a faith perspective.
Right.
And the way you have just so eloquently broken it down, I now understand that I'm human first. And
Yes.
God understands that. See, you said something that it made the hair on my arm stand up when you said we put on this mask and we just go and we act like everything is okay when really behind that mask we're drowning.
Mm-hmm.
We're barely making it. But the way again, you explained it to me biblically, and I needed that. You understand?
I
Because
do.
now we needed it, you needed it, everyone that's watching needed this. So now, as we flip the page of the book, your next assignment begins.
That's right.
Because, so let me ask you, Coach Nicole, with grief and these in this book and in our chapters, can we finally put a period at the end?
You can, but everybody's not going to be able to do that. Some people will have ... Some will have a comma, some will have a period, but it all depends on you and what God says your assignment is from the loss. But the key is to put something there.
Right.
And to not just continue to leave it open-ended. There has to be something that happens after that.
So, in other words, I need to put a period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Flip the page and continue on with my assignment because now I have a new assignment.
That's
And
right.
this assignment doesn't include my dad. It doesn't include the ones I've lost.
That's right.
In the beginning.
Yeah. And a lot of times in my coaching, I will ask people, what are you doing with what you survived?
Mm,
We survive so much, especially as Black women.
absolutely.
And in grief, right? Because, the fact that you survived the grief is proof of God being with you in the grief. I'm going to say it again. The fact that you survived the grief is proof that God is with you in the grief. As we say, I feel like God left me. No, he's in it with you. That's why you are standing up every day. That's why you can get out of the bed. That's why you keep eating when you didn't feel like eating. That's why you didn't lose your mind. That's why you didn't walk in traffic. Those types of things.
That's God. He saved me from myself.
Yeah. So he didn't leave you in grief. If he would have left you, you would have succumbed to your own emotions and feelings. But he's really there with you, taking care of you the same way we take care of our children, whether they can see it in that moment or not.
So, Coach Nicole, before I let you go, I need you to talk about this book that you wrote. So, I need everyone that is in this chat, I need y'all to go follow Coach Nicole on all streaming platforms. Let me take a let's take a like a 10-15 second, just a moment of just, because you came and you swung on me tonight. I mean, you let me breathe a little bit. Let me just, because nobody told you. You didn't prepare. I should have. You know what? Maybe before we, Coach Nicole, maybe I should have had a conversation with you first, because
Oh my God.
this is you just. I mean, because nobody. I can't even get my. I'm stumbling over words. I almost threw my glasses. Y'all know I can't see. But you showed out. You showed up and showed out.
Bless you. Bless you.
Didn't nobody tell you to come in here and cut up with no scissors.
I,
Nobody
d-
told you to do that.
I was trying to go gentle. The gentle.
You sure that's what they were? She said that's gentle, baby. I mean, she just, baby, you didn't
Listen,
see
if the
every band-aid.
if the goal is to make heaven full, I am doing my part
Baby.
because the enemy is certainly doing his part
Oh,
to
he
make it the other way. So if the goal for all of us should be to make heaven full, and
absolutely.
that means every time we have an opportunity to minister, and I never take opportunities like this lightly, then I don't know who's in the chat. I don't know who's listening. I don't know who will listen later. I can't leave anything to chance.
No stone left unturned.
No stone left unturned. So my conscience is clear when I finish.
So you just came in here and just snatched up every weed in here.
Yes.
So all the roses. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
not even mad about it. So Coach Nicole, for those that are not familiar with Coach Nicole, she found me on Instagram. And I had to go to her page. And when I tell you, and this was about 2:00 in the morning, I'm in the bed scrolling on Instagram. And I said, I gotta get with her. I have to. And I was afraid. I'm not gonna lie. Y'all, I was scared because I had been told no so many times. So Coach Nicole, I want to give you your flowers tonight. Because what you did for me and everyone that's watching, we went to church. And this ain't no holiday. You know, that's the only time people go to church. Holidays, weddings, and funerals. That's all people go.
I know.
But you came in and you swung the guillotine. You just you did it. But I want to discuss this book called
The Heaven Team. Yeah, The Heaven Team. So this book was birthed out of another grief situation. So this is called The Heaven Team, A Child's Guide to Love, Loss, and Heaven. And so this is a book that my daughter, Layla, who was 6 at the time, came up with this concept, not knowing what she was saying. So we had another loss in my family. It was my husband's aunt, actually, his mother's sister. She passed away about 2 years ago now. And that was the first person that had passed away that my daughter could identify, really, if you will. So when we went to tell her that Aunt Rosalind, that was her name, and we honor her as well tonight, that Aunt Rosalind passed away, she looked at me and she said, "Mommy, do you mean the Heaven Team came to get her?" And we said, "What is the Heaven Team?" And she said, with a confident, straight face, "Isn't that the group of angels that come and get you when the doctors can't help you anymore and the police and firefighters can't help you anymore? And they come get you and they help you get settled in heaven. And then when you get settled up there, you go meet Jesus." And I said, "Well, yes, that's what happened." And I shared that with someone. They said, "You should turn that into a book." And I said, "I'm not an author. I don't know anything about writing a book, let alone a children's book. This is not my lane." So like we often do, I ran from it from God for about a year until God said, "You're going to sit down and you're going to write this book." So I wrote it and I brought the Heaven Team to life. So this is Skylar and this is Noah. And they take our children and even our adults. There are a lot of people who have purchased it, who talked about, and it's fully illustrated, as you can see there.
I just love that it relates to us.
Yes, fully illustrated. And they take you on a journey in this book of loss and how they can understand heaven through the Heaven Team. And I had a family tell me one time, not too long ago, when we released the book has only been out for about 3 weeks. So you're not late getting the book. It's available on Amazon right now. And someone told me, my daughter hates heaven because she says heaven takes everybody. She doesn't like heaven. But when she read this book, she understood that heaven's really where Jesus is. So now she's excited to go to heaven when it's time. So this story is changing families, it's changing lives. So if you have a child that is going through loss, or, I'm sad to say, but we know life is going to interrupt. You can get this for your child, keep it on the shelf. There are daycare centers, libraries who've been picking it up, churches, different things like that, that have it. And then we also have, also available on Amazon, the coloring and activity book. So after they read the story, it's also on Amazon. They can go in. I know it's a little hard to see here, but they can do all different types of activities of coloring, of God's love. They can draw their own heaven team. They can write out a prayer. They can draw a picture of grandma, who in the story is the one that passes away. So, there's all different types of things that we are offering for the Heaven team. And this is just the beginning of Skylar and Noah's adventures. We will be expanding it to tell more stories from their perspective, to help children from a biblical perspective.
I love
To
it.
understand loss and understand grief.
I went on Amazon because I told you I've been stalking. And I said, well, we need a Heaven team for adults. When or is that something that we can expect to see in the future?
It is. So, I didn't know that was going to be something, but the masses, like you are asking for that. We need a Heaven team for adults. We need something to break it down for us. So yes, there is a plan to not only expand it in child form. I can tell you the next one up will be about losing a pet for children, because that is something that's also close to them.
Yeah.
And that will be out hopefully early spring. But yes, there is a plan to also develop a Heaven team for adults, hopefully by summer, if not sooner. So you definitely the Heaven team is available on all social media platforms as well. The book only came out Black Friday, so you are right on time. You can pick it up and it'll come in 2 days before Christmas on Amazon if you want to add it to some child's wish list. But certainly, I highly recommend it. It is important that we teach our children about heaven, and we teach our children about loss, and we teach our children that, Jesus and heaven and that whole process is not a scary thing.
Right.
Because when we don't, the world then will shape how they view it for us.
And that's one of the things that I love the most, is that it relates to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the understanding of seeing us.
Yeah.
Explaining how beautiful heaven is.
Yeah. And that's something I can tell you. Before I published it, I said, well, maybe there's already a lot of books in this space that look like little Black girls and little Black boys. And there's not a whole lot, certainly, that doesn't break it down like this, in a way that we explain the Heaven team in a way that is easy for them to understand. So that's really what I want people to know, is this was created for our little brown children. Not that everybody cannot take part in it, of course, but I had them in mind because oftentimes we are not represented, and representation matters.
It's everything. And that's one of the most beautiful things when I saw the cover, because I went to your link tree. Like I told you, I've been.
You're stalking me. Yes.
I was. I sure did.
Yes. Well, if you find my link tree, we also have Heaven Team merch. You can order it. Yeah, you can get hats, t-shirts, hoodies, tumblers, all kinds of things that'll ship to you directly. You can do that. Can you post a link for the book? Can I put it in the chat?
Yeah.
Okay. So definitely you can certainly, go ahead and pick it up. I will put it in the chat, but I highly recommend everybody consider taking advantage of picking up the book and gifting it.
It is. That book is so beautiful. And I'm loving the fact that I'm seeing more books from authors that look more like us.
Yes.
That are touching, that are going into these waters. Because at one point we didn't have that representation. I stumbled across, I cannot remember her name, but she did a book about God, but a Black one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to go back and Google, but when I tell you, Thank you.
You are
Thank you.
welcome.
I just, and I'm gonna keep saying thank you so because I'm so grateful and I'm appreciative that I could be in your presence
Oh, bless you.
and for you with everything that you're going through. Because I'm telling you, when you told me that your mother-in-law passed, I said, okay, I was already prepared to push the episode back to next week. I was already prepared, and that's
Yeah.
why I asked. And when you said, this is right on time, I knew it was gonna be deep, but I didn't know that you was gonna drag me down and bring me back up, but with a better understanding,
Amen.
with a better my vision is clear, with the clarity
Yeah,
of grief. Because again, I know a lot of people that are grieving right now.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And them being angry with God and you coming in and you're breaking it down and you're saying, you told us God knows grief. He did this, he went through this. He didn't like doing it,
Mm-mm.
but he had to.
Yeah, he had to.
Mm,
It is not, I don't know. For some reason, I don't have an option to put it in the chat, but
let me see if you, I don't know.
uh,
Can you put it in our private chat and I can copy and paste?
let me see if I can. I don't know if it's not giving me that either. I
Let's
don't know why. I don't know if you can chat me and then I can maybe do it.
let's
But
see.
while we try to figure that out, for Elizabeth and anyone else looking, if you do go on Amazon and type in the Heaven Team book, both books will populate for you. And if you go to my social medias, you can also find my link tree that will have where you can access the merchandise and things like that as well. That is not on Amazon. That's through a separate system.
See.
But let me see.
Oh,
Okay, let me see if I can post it there.
okay. I'm gonna copy. And copy. Restream is so new for me. I used to use StreamYard. Okay, there we go.
There we go. Okay. And this is my first time being on Restream, actually. So,
I used to use StreamYard, but StreamYard has gone to like almost $50 a month, and I'm just like,
no, that's a lot.
whatever's best. So I'm navigating through Restream, but for those, this is, you know what? I should have done it. Oh no, I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna go this way because I want them to know. Okay, copy, and this is how I will do this. There we go. And oh, come on and paste. There we are. Okay, there we are. I'm gonna do it this way. All right, there we are. So for
Awesome.
those that are watching, I have posted the link. I'm going to leave it up. This is the link for the book, The Heaven Team. It is on Amazon. If you go to her link tree, maybe you can find it there. When I tell you this lady is everywhere, I cannot wait to see her on the big screen bringing the Heaven Team to a movie theater.
Woo! Listen, that is close to my heart. I have not said that out loud, but that is divine confirmation. That is something big picture that is on the table. So I'll just speak it into existence, that we envision some YouTube shorts. Those are in development. And then, potentially moving it to a feature movie, and things like that. So definitely stay tuned to everything the Heaven Team has to offer. If you're looking for more faith over fear content, I am on what I'm calling a sacred pause at the moment, just while I can lay my mother-in-law to rest. But I have a ton of content that you can go on in any of the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And you can go and watch my content to get, whatever you need to move you from a place of fear to faith and from surviving to thriving.
When I tell you, we're gonna talk on the back end because I wanna connect you with somebody that
Okay.
has done reality shows. She actually did. Do you remember the Whitney and Bobby Brown reality show?
Who could forget that?
And she also did the Nelly and Ashanti show.
Okay.
So
Wow.
I'm gonna shoot Miss Tracy your information,
Yeah.
and you two ladies collab on the back end
I
because
would love that.
she is a black woman that is showing that black women can excel at anything they put their mind to.
Yes. And I don't have a background in entrepreneurship at all. I'm very comfortable with my 9 to 5, but when God says go, you have to trust him. You got to step out the boat and you've got to go. So for anyone that's doubting, can I do this? Am I cut out to do what God keeps putting in my heart? Yes, you can. We are proof of that, Ashley and I both.
And I'm gonna introduce you to my sister Vanessa. Vanessa lives in Arizona. She
Okay.
is like the expert in PR.
Okay.
2026. Y'all just, and that's her right there in the chat. That's her right there.
Okay. Yes.
Yes,
Definitely. I would love to connect and bring
yes,
this to life.
yes.
Yeah.
Let me tell y'all, we are going to make magic for 2026. We are talking, but we are women about action right now. And Coach Nicole, before you leave on tonight and before you lay your head, God bless you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm not going to. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for just being present despite your season right now. You are so strong. You are resilient. You are amazing. But most importantly, you're God's child. And I thank God for allowing us to cross paths tonight.
Thank you.
I'm the biggest crybaby, and everybody will tell you that. Anybody that knows me, they know I cry. But I'm so passionate about this, and thank you for allowing me to be the student. Thank you for teaching me and everyone that has watched how to navigate grief and for removing the negative stigma that surrounds grief because it could be a beautiful thing. I'm so sorry, y'all. Everybody that knows that I'm like the biggest crybaby ever.
It's okay. It's okay. And I'm grateful to be able to share that. And remember, it's love remembering. It's not a negative. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to ask God. It's okay to say, I am dealing with love remembering.
And I am.
Yeah.
But I don't feel bad about it. Now I understand.
Yeah.
Because you broke it down in a way that we could all understand because we've been told you can't do this, you can't do that. You're never supposed to do this, but you gave us the confirmation. Yeah. So I want everyone to know that this will not be the last time you see Coach Nicole on Black Girl Interrupted podcast. So I had a conversation with her. I'm going to let y'all. And I had a conversation and I extended an extended invitation for her to be on Black Girl Interrupted. So this won't be the last time you see her.
Mm-mm.
Tap in with her. She's amazing. And when I tell you, God sent her my way for a reason. And I'm not even mad about it.
I love that. And I'm not even mad about it.
And I love you out loud and on purpose.
And there's nothing you can do about it. That's what I always say.
I love your stuff.
Yes.
It's permanent until Jesus Christian Christ says, come on, you got to go over here and water this grass. I need you to plant this garden over here because that's how I feel like the transition is. I become a gardener. I move up to a cook. I become the designer. I become everything that God has designed us to be. So on that note, I do want to say thank y'all so much for tuning in to another beautiful episode of Black Girl Interrupted Podcast. Black Girl Interrupted Podcast streams live every Tuesday and every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I stream live to YouTube and Facebook, and you can catch me. I'm on all streaming platforms. Follow me everywhere, and stay tuned for some of the beautiful things that we're going to have going on in the background. So I love y'all. Happy Wednesday. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their week. Again, shout out to my girl, Coach Nicole, for coming through, Black Girl Interrupted, for coming and just gracing us with her presence and taking us to church. Because she did. And no, it's not a holiday. But we love you over here on Black Girl Interrupted Podcast. My condolences to your family.
Thank you.
As you journey tomorrow to celebrate the life of your beautiful mother-in-law.
Thank you.
May her transition have been peaceful.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful. I'm humbled and I'm honored.
Absolutely. Well, we love you. God bless you. And we'll see you in January.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I will get with you on those episodes. Because this weekend, I'm going to put them together.
Okay.
But I'm definitely going to need you.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I have 3 episodes in mind that
Okay.
I'm definitely going to need you. And it is regarding mental health.
I will be there.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, God bless everyone. We love you. We love you. We love you. And it ain't nothing you could do about it. So everyone have a beautiful night. And I'll see you next Tuesday. I love you.